Hello, everybody, and welcome to TrueFire Live. We have a very, very special broadcast for you today with Willy Porter in the house. We've been listening to Willy for years and years and years, but the first time we saw Willy play live was at an all-star guitar night concert we did in Madison, Wisconsin. This had to be maybe, 7 years ago or so. And I have to tell you, as incredible as the recordings are, watching Willy play live is it's life-changing. Amazing guitar player, amazing singer, incredible songwriter. And so 7 years ago, we started nudging Willy to collaborate with us on something, and sure enough, 7 years later, Willy in the house, and we just put a course together, which we'll tell you about in a minute. But I want to read you a couple of quotes. Porter's songs weave a universal perspective about the questions, struggles, and triumphs of human existence. His live shows are guitar-driven grit, soul, silence, and muscle, at times electrifying, dynamic, and unique in the way that Porter's voice blends and fuses with his fretwork. Another quote, if you never heard of this guy before, you are in for the musical discovery of a lifetime. He can still play guitar, perhaps greater than anyone else on the planet. I love this quote from Al Cooper, Bob Dylan, Blood, Sweat, and Tears fame. I found Willy on iTunes 6 years ago, went to see him live, and joined the converted. I guarantee you will be converted as well at the end of this broadcast. I love this one from Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull. Thank goodness he doesn't play the flute. Tori Amos says, Willy plays rhythms that make me want to crawl inside his guitar and sleep there forever. Billboard says, Porter accentuates well, rendered tails with spit, fire, percussive acoustic guitar strumming, and fiery color, chord picking. Anyway, I asked Willy if he would play one of my favorite Willy Porter tunes, and it's taken a really long intro, which he's complied with. This one's called Tribe. Willy, stage is yours.
She taught us to dance to the sacred music, taught us respect for every tribe, taught us to question the powers, do not enlist and don't subscribe. You know you're only beginning, you've only begun. Tried to keep us safe from falling while she pushed us to the edge. Tried to be a full-grown woman while we were sleeping in our bed. She said, there are no stupid questions, only fools who like to speak. Try to break through your restrictions, see how far your soul can reach. You've only beginning, you've only begun, only beginning to become, only beginning, you've only begun, only beginning. It's gonna be the most you see, it's gonna grow farther than you or me, and we gotta trust it, put our faith in it, and never try to question when we're gonna step in it. She's a raging river, she's a storm at sea. She's like an arrow in the quiver of the warrior in me. Sweeter than an apple right off the tree. You know she does a pollen dance for the other honeybees. leaving these borders of television tongues. Take away all the shrapnel, take away all the noise, take away all the fighting and all the war, boys. 'Cause we're only beginning, we've only begun. This song is beginning to be sung.
Thank you, Willie.
My pleasure.
That was my personal request. I love that tune.
Thank you so much.
You first recorded that.
I guess it would have been 1999,
Yep.
an album called Falling Forward.
And you did that with a band, right?
I did, yeah.
But when you're touring, you're mostly solo, right?
Yes.
Or
yeah.
with Carmen,
Yeah.
right?
Often with Carmen Nickerson in recent years, but for the moment, doing mostly solo stuff.
Yeah, it's we talked about it this week, how many singer-songwriters tend to, tour, play solo, but when they go in the studio, they bring their buds in, and why is that?
I think for a lot of singer-songwriters, their vision for the tune is more than their role in it. At least it is for me. So I often want to add more colors and paint with a lot more colors on the final canvas, if you will, to flesh out the idea and also to enhance the fact that the visual component is not there. When someone's solo in performance, we have all of the energy to witness of their intention. And when we go home and listen to the record, unfortunately, they can't be in the room with us. So I think a lot of people want to produce it with an eye towards making up for what isn't there visually.
And we talked about how sometimes, the audience goes to the concert, hears the solo performance, buys the record with the songs on it.
Yeah.
And it's a different thing for them. Not necessarily a bad thing, but a different thing, right?
It definitely is. And I think there's a disconnect there. And it's something that I've sort of struggled with too, is that I need to make I shouldn't say I need to, I want to make a better live solo recording that sort of captures, all the mistakes that you're trying to wrangle into line, if you will. The glorious wipeouts and the recoveries that come with them.
What tuning are you in for that tune?
This is an open sort of derivative of B flat. So if you were in an open C tuning for starters and then went down a whole step, I'd go from there. And yeah, so I could give you the exact
C down an entire step.
Yeah. So my low note in this tuning is actually F. And it's great. And then I had one of these capos and I cut the end off before I left for a ski trip a number of years ago. My wife and I were going out west to ski and I took a capo and just cut it thinking I'm going to see what comes out of this. And on that trip, I got that tune. So
nice.
Yeah, it's fun.
So that you could keep the low 2 strings
Right?
uncapoed.
Yeah, exactly. In this case, I'm just letting those 2 guys or gals, as you may see them, ring through, and that sort of allows me to create this sort of modal basis, if you will, for the tune. And then this that little riff came to me and I thought, well, this is easy. I know what this one is.
Well, I know you have to retune, so
Sure.
why don't you do that, and I'll tell folks about what we did this week, which was very special. Willy prepared a curriculum that he's calling song synthesis. And what we learned about Willy is, you know, as awesome as the songs are in performance or on the record, the process is just as amazing. You know how
Thank you.
you balance. You're really connecting the guitar parts, the vocal part, the vocal performance, and the lyrics in a very artful, very deliberate, very thoughtful way. And you know, I think you conveyed that approach in a very accessible way in this course, Song Synthesis. So the course is structured. There's basically two sections. In the first section, Willy presents a lot of the key concepts, techniques, creative approaches for his songwriting process. Marrying the guitar and vocal, alternate tunings, rhythmic groove, dynamics, the genesis of a song, which we'll talk about in just a second, how Willy embellishes or polishes a guitar part, and of course, you know, the sonic approaches or the kind of the tapestry of the song. Then in the second section, there are 3 song studies: Paper Airplane, Hard Place, and This Train. And Willy performs them and then breaks them down. And I think what's really special about this course, if you're just a guitar player, you're going to walk away with a lot of cool stuff. You know, if you have no interest in songwriting whatsoever, I think that that's very cool. And we have a lot of guitar players here at TrueFire. If you're an aspiring songwriter, man, there's a lot of gray matter here that'll really kind of inspire you to continue to aspire to be a songwriter. And I've already got, I didn't even tell you this, Willy, but, you know, there's quite a few of your peers that we're also working with and talking to that heard you were going to be in the studio, all of them asking for advanced copies of this course. So you are kind of lifting the hood, man.
Oh,
you know?
That's nice to have some love from your peeps.
Well, you have a lot of love from fans, your peeps, and anyone that gets to work with you. Let's talk about kind of how you think about marrying the marriage of guitar and vocals and the lyrics. Talk about that for just a sec.
Sure. So for me, I think a song has to be in agreement with itself. And the way that you achieve that is sometimes difficult. Sometimes you have to work at it. And you might have a guitar idea that you really like, but the lyric doesn't seem to quite line up. Or conversely, you could have a lyric that you really love, but the guitar part doesn't seem to line up with the emotional center of the song. And so the emotional center, what does that mean? That's the place where you feel like there's some truth for you. And even if you're dealing with a character in the song that isn't you, per se, you're writing a character, you'll still find that place where it lines up for you and you feel as though things become somewhat easier. Everything seems to unfold and it doesn't feel like work anymore. And I think that is a quest in songwriting that I'm really compelled by and really driven by. So, excuse me, that is something that I've shared a little bit with other writers, and they often tell me the same thing, that they have, you know, they rely on a toolbox of things to go back and sort of figure out, well, how am I going to get across this bridge in the tune where I don't really know where it's going, or I don't know who the narrator is, or I don't know how to support this melody line. Mm-hmm. And so I do a lot of different things to sort of explore that and flush them out. Mm-hmm. Paper Airplane is a tune where I did that to sort of figure out, you know, who is the singer of this? Who is this, you know, narrator? But also, how do I underline what's being said here to get to that core emotional quantity that I want the listener to get. And so, you know, it started out, I just had a couple of lyrics for that tune that had come out of my journal.
Do you remember the lines?
Yeah, the first two lines were, I want to walk through all your open doorways. I want to drink down all your cheap wine. I want to answer the phone when your old man calls, and I want to tell him that you're doing all right. The idea that you really care deeply about somebody here, and you know, I really want them to know that I'm on their side, and that I'm going to be on their side. And so that lyric of assurance, but also of expressing real love for someone, not necessarily romantic, though in this case it was, you know, a love story that way. I wanted to figure out how to get in. And so I had those lines, but I didn't really have a melody. I didn't discover what the rhythm of those lines were as they worked together yet. And so I tried some different approaches to the guitar. I want to walk through all your open doorways. I want to drink down all your cheap wine. I tried some rock and roll things. I tried more of a sort of a, you know, a country thing. I want to walk through all your open doorways. I want to drink down all your cheap wine. And I tried some different ways of sort of solving the puzzle, and nothing really lined up for me, but I liked the lyric enough that I decided to hang with it and keep going. And one day I was just hanging around and just kind of playing this 6/8 vibe. I want to walk through all your open doorways. I want to drink down all your cheap wine. And when I hit that, I realized, eureka, things kind of lined up for me. And then the tune from there was like, well, what the heck's going on here? And I realized I'm playing in a drop D tuning. In my case now, I'm down a whole step, so it's really a drop C. But I was like, wow, how can I augment that and maybe work on the guitar part to build motion? So from there, the song kind of took off. You know?
Would you play it for us?
Sure, be happy to.
And this is one of the song studies in the course.
I wanna walk through all your open doorways. I wanna drink down all your cheap wine. I wanna answer the phone when your old man calls. I wanna tell him that you're doing alright. I wanna erase on down. I wanna stand naked before the sun. I wanna lay down beside you when the working day is done. Through your open window, my paper airplane flies. People say I lost my footing. They should look into your eyes. From the second floor I can see into your house. Don't need a telescope to know what you're about. Just like a love letter tucked under a wing. Just like your naked truth gives light to everything. I wanna erase all doubt. I wanna stand naked before the sun. I wanna lay down beside you when the working day is done. Through your open window, my paper airplane flies. Through your open into the sky. People say I lost my hair. They should look into up here in the thermals, drifting like a hawk, carried on the wind, blown away like chalk. Such a tiny craft, paper clip on nose. I could stare at you for hours, but your blinds are closed. Your blinds are closed. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you, man.
So in the chorus, you perform the song, and then you break it down, the lyrics and the narrator. The narrator is a very important quality of songwriting for you, isn't it?
It is. I really, I try to think aloud about how it is to wear that hat in that song, whoever that is, whether it's a little girl or in this case, you know, this guy's more me than anything else. So how do I flesh out the meaning of the statement that's being made so that it sounds authentic, so that the truth is ringing in it? And that's a really fun, you know, sort of psychic archaeology.
And that's really, a lot of songwriters talk in the first person mostly. And you love to explore, you talk, in a lot of your songs are about you, and it's you talking. But you'll go out and talk about a little girl or a Marine, like the second song in the chorus.
Yes.
How did that song come about, by the way?
That was a co-write with a great friend of mine, Pat Flynn, who we were traveling by train. And Pat and I sat down and started talking about the war in the East at the time and how frustrated we were about certain elements of it, and but how much we respected people that had made a commitment to go and serve, and that really informed the whole thing. Once we sort of unified that, and I just thought, well, there's a way to speak and take the position of a soldier who is reluctant to become a soldier, but who has this incredibly deep family history, and things reach a certain point where they feel compelled to be involved, and so they join, and where that journey takes them. And also, it just comes from a deep respect for those who have served and our responsibility to them when they come back.
This one gave us chills when we filmed that for the chorus. Hard Place. Play that one for us.
Sure.
And it's a great example of now we have a different narrator for the song.
Absolutely, yeah.
What tuning are you in? One more time for
for all the kids at home.
Yeah.
Yep. This is a dadgad down a whole step. So again, I'm in C.
Yeah.
C, G, C,
Yeah.
F, G, and then C on the top. And this tune functions out of G minor. So there's a little bit of an intro here that I'll play for you too that
Cool.
sort of shows how I use some of the dynamics and stuff.
My name is Bradley Wilson. I'm Marine to the core. Like my dad before me, my grandpa in the Second World War. Dad made it home from Saigon in '73. Grandpa left his dog tags on the beach in the Philippines. He got cut. Between a rock and a hard place. Semper Fi is not a slogan, but a living legacy. I always thought my dad's dress blues were much too big on me, but the bell tolled for me one morning, as it will for one and all. And that awful endless moment as I watch the angels fall, they got cut. Ooh, between a rock and a hard place. They got cut. Ooh, between a rock and a hard place. Dad said there'd come a day when the truth is in your face. You're caught between a rock and a hard place. When you're caught. Now the sun beats down upon us, burns right through our skin. They say that Jesus is from round here, but I sure ain't seen him. My name is Bradley Wilson, I'm Marine to the core. Please don't forget us when we're back there on our shores.
Killer, man.
Thank you.
I can listen to that 100 times in a row.
Ah, thank you, man.
So with that tune, talk about the dynamic thing, why the intro is down here, and how does that work in terms of stagecraft, let's say?
Yeah. Well, I was using a little bit of this effect up here, a little eventide thing, to give it some sort of little mystical thing. But for me, the dynamics really work to set the lower floor from which you can then get louder. You know, I'm a big believer in not playing. And as guitar players go, we all want to play a lot of notes, and it's kind of like, the way dogs try to mark territory. We do the same thing, but with notes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think sometimes it's a more powerful way of expressing the center of the song is to get really quiet. My buddy David Wilcox told me that, to be quiet is to really grab the strength of the song and really bring it into in for everybody else, and it draws people in. So for me, I try to use that in live performance, having longer segments that are very quiet. So the introduction was actually added on after the fact, and in part also by working with this great string quartet, the Carpe Diem string quartet that I've worked with quite a bit. Needed some movements and some moments for improvisation with the quartet that were interesting. And so that really lended itself to setting up what then becomes that that main groove, which is much more of a Southern Appalachian cross-pollination with Midwestern roots rock kind of a vibe. And so that's the first stage, would be the intro. Second stage, dynamic lift, is that what I would call intro 2. And then when we get to the verse, we're just doing some blocks, some thumps, percussive things to lock down a groove. But then the trick bag is make space for the vocal, So it combines those elements as it goes past to sort of make the song a ride. I really think a good song is a ride,
That was quite a ride right there.
Well, thank you.
So the narrator is the Marine.
Yeah.
Right? And so what kind of how do you get into that Marine's headspace?
Well, I don't know
How
that
do
I
you
ever
feel like him when you write?
I guess it's just to sort of study things that are common to all of us. Many of us have fathers that set the bar level pretty high. And so no matter how we try, we never reach that, and I certainly had that feeling in parts of my life. And so when talking about, and Pat and I came up with that line, my dad's dress blues, were always too big for me, something like that, that just rang true. So there is something about that Marines experience and my own identity thing that I was able to invest in that. And as the great Michael Hedges said, everything is broadcast. So when you're writing these tunes, or when I write tunes, I want to make sure there's information in the song that I can invest in emotionally each time. And that investment may take a slightly different shape each night, but there's always space for me there. And that's really important. So that's kind of...
And how important is it for, to evoke an emotional response or to give your listener something that they can identify with and also feel what you're singing about? Is that an important thing
Not necessarily. I think the only part of that equation I can manage is the broadcast. I can never be the receiver of what I'm doing with any objective clarity. So because of that, of course I want people to like it. There's no question about that. And I want to create space for them to find their own definition of what's happening and find some way to bring that into their life. And I think that's it's a fabulous question. But I think as a performer, it's really important to maintain some sort of distance and altitude from the reaction itself, especially when you're writing, because all I want to do is get into the interior of this space. I want to fuse these elements together so that I'm able to actually engage in some sort of spiritual relationship with the song. And that sounds really heady and sort of nebulous, but that's always been the quest for me. That's what music, it's the role it's always served in my life, that's my spiritual practice.
Which is very effective. You know, it's in a way, not that it was a trick question, but what a great answer, fabulous answer, you know. And
Thank you.
Distinctive from writers who write for making a pop hit song, you know, which is very fabricated, if you will, to deliberately try to trigger a basic response from the listener, you know, broken heart or, you know, somebody that they're in love with.
Make a new start.
You know? So, yeah, exactly. It's, you know, what you do is art, I guess, is the best way that I can describe it, you know? A couple...
I just want to say, though, I have friends who are really good at that and who can really write songs that communicate in such a vast way, and they've been very successful at it. And I really believe it's an equal music, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't, I can only speak to my journey within it and say, you know, I've tried to write stuff that I thought would get over, and it doesn't feel authentic to me, and I can't carry that up the hill.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean? Your songs definitely feel authentic. What's interesting is, you know, you take a song like that song, I think a lot of people can identify with it, and in different ways. You know, we all have fathers or brothers or friends that went to war, different experiences, some of them very bad, some of them, you know, manageable. And that song will trigger some type of an emotional response for pretty much anyone that's been there in that way, you know. Couple of call outs for you we have people chiming in from Italy, Ireland, Berlin, New York City, Brooklyn.
I love some Brooklyners.
Florida, Virginia, North Carolina, Grand Rapids, Michigan. So say hey to all your fans out there around the world.
Well, thanks for tuning in, peeps.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
so
great.
we have 12 minutes left.
Yeah.
Willy's got to catch his ride back to the airport. I wasn't going to say this, but I will say this. Getting here was quite a trip for you, wasn't it?
It was nothing short of a multi-day Gilligan's Island adventure.
God. And you flew in from...
I flew in from Milwaukee.
Okay, so Milwaukee to Florida should only take a couple, 3 hours.
But you got to go to Atlanta and Birmingham
was
first.
going to come in on Sunday night. We were going to shoot on Monday.
Right.
But a little bit of an ice storm in Milwaukee.
Yeah, we had some snow, and then flying into Atlanta, there was cloud cover and storm, so we taxied, and then we were running out of gas, so we went to Birmingham. And then when we finally got to Atlanta, my plane had gone, and there are no flights for kids with guitars. So, yeah, you get to go tomorrow. And then when I showed up at 5:30 in the morning to catch my 6 a.m. flight, I got to the gate, and which was canceled.
Oh, God.
So I got to stay in Atlanta another day, which I love Atlanta. I just don't want to really be in a hotel room.
But, you know, we, you know, I told Willy, God, man, that's horrible that you went through that. And you were kind of blasé. Yeah, it happens all the time, you know, which is the life of a touring artist, right?
Yeah.
But we made it happen. How
We
we
sure
managed
did.
to do that, I don't know. Let's make sure that we play this train. And one of the cool aspects of including this in the choruses, in this case, you had the guitar groove first,
Yeah.
and then that inspired the lyrics.
Yes. And I've got to give my sister Carm a shout out because she came into, she was coming over to my house to write that day. When she walked in, she's like, "What's that? What's that? What's that?" And I was like, "Oh, that's just I'm trying to make the guitar sound like a train going down the tracks." She's like, "That's a song. We got to write that one." So
Did you write it that day?
we did.
Nice.
Yeah. So thanks to Carmen Nickerson. But I'll play you the tune, and thanks for being such a gracious host these last day and a half. It's been
Truly
a joy.
our pleasure, man.
And thanks to everybody out in TrueFire land for tuning in today. And so I'll just go and dial up a little bit of delay for this one.
This train won't run on money. This train won't run on blood. This train is bound for glory. This train is bound for love. We can remain alone in the doorway, half in the rain, chained to the past. We can complain all that we want to, but this train is rolling fast. All the love, human persistence, all the pain, tears and joy. I can hear her in the distance, feel the rumble of her voice. We can remain alone in the doorway, half in the rain, chained to the past. We can complain all that we want to, but this train is rolling past. Across the plains and through the sea, from the mountains' highest peak, this train is bound for glory, for all the love in God's dream. For love, love.
So all of the song studies in Willy's course, Song Synthesis, Willy will perform the song, give you the background, a little bit of an overview, and then break down each of the parts, like the verse,
Absolutely.
chorus, show you the guitar parts, talk about how everything gets connected, talk about the narrator. If you're a guitar player, you're going to walk away with a ton of cool stuff. Aspiring songwriter, this is the joint. And I did promise to send advance copies to all your peer songwriters. So I know you didn't give it all away, which is why, you know, and I want this on camera so that I have the video that you promised to come back and we continue doing this thing together.
Well, I'm really excited to do this first one. I look forward to the next one. It's been a joy.
Cool.
Thank you.
And hopefully you'll get here in 3 hours instead of 3
Yeah, right?
days.
Yeah.
Can we spend whatever time is left? Could you tell everybody about that incredible guitar, which I actually got a chance to strum a couple of things on?
I'd be happy to.
Show it to us.
Yes. This guitar was made by my dear friend and luthier and man on the Silver Mountain, as they say, Mr. Jason Kostal. And Jason, K-O-S-T-A-L, resides in Queen Creek, Arizona, where he has become one of the greatest luthiers in the world. And I've had this guitar for a couple years. Its name is Birdie because it has this beautiful Celtic inlay crow on the back. As a kid, I had a pet crow, and so Jason took that and put the bird on the back of the headstock as kind of a reminder of where I'm from and also as an inspiration to continue forward on this journey. So very grateful to have this. And I have many beautiful guitars that I'll be sharing with everybody from various different luthiers, Kevin Meiderman, Gordy Bischoff, as I get into my channel with TrueFire. We'll be talking
the
a
channel's
lot more.
coming soon.
Yeah, so there'll be a lot more stuff about instruments and builders and so on.
Hold the guitar up. Let's see if Tommy can get a close-up of the inlay around the F-hole. Tommy, are you able to do that by any chance? Just check this out. The video will not do this guitar justice. It is just it's a beautiful piece of art.
It really is.
It sounds incredible and extremely playable.
It really is.
I mean, it's the real deal. Look at that inlay. It's just gorgeous. Name the luthier one more time.
Jason Kostal, K-O-S-T-A-L.
K-O-S-T-A-L.
That's correct.
Go
You can
check
just
this out.
KostalGuitars.com.
Bookmark that one. All right, man. Can you plug in and play us out?
Sure.
We'll say
Yeah.
thank you to everyone who's chimed in from all over
Yeah.
the world and all these different time zones. Thank you for having dinner with us, lunch with us, waking up in the middle of the night with us. I hope you enjoyed today's live broadcast. We loved having Willy in the studio, and look out for this course, Song Synthesis. Thank you, Willy.
Thank you.